Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. This is going to be part 2 of our Cricut Maker Monday, and we're going to be putting together some fringe heart embellishments. So if you are wondering how we created all of these little pieces to build up and make these hearts, you will find the complete walkthrough of how I have sliced everything to create all the different layers, as well as how I've laid out some of my papers to get some extra cuts and create these multicolored hearts as well. So for now, I'm going to start by adding the fringe to the hearts and getting those put together. We'll run through, do some embellishments, and also package these up so they are ready to go for some happy mail. Okay, so I have gone ahead and sorted out all of mine. I'm keeping one solid of, I think, all of the colors except the darkest. And then I also took a two-tone of like the two lightest, the two medium, the two darkest. And then of course I have these last several where I did all of the different colors. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that one just because it's the last one here. I've grabbed in my fringe scissors and I'm just going to go and cut a fringe along the bottom of all of these. So the one you want to be most careful with is this top one because you don't want to cut it apart. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space there and I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to line up my first cut right along the center. That way I can hopefully keep my cuts somewhat even as I'm going, although I don't know that that's anything terribly important. And I'm just going to work my way out with the scissors. And I'm going to do that for all of the layers. So again, I'm going to line up that center cut there. And you can go pretty high on these lower layers because you're going to be covering them up with the layer on top of it. Trying to keep it somewhat even, the spacing between all of the cuts. And then the last one. Okay, so all of my fringes added in, I'm going to glue this together. I'm just going to add some along the top of my, whoops, I want to start with my bottom layer. I'm going to add some along the top of my bottom layer here. Not a ton, just enough to keep this together, and then I will line this up so that my edges are nice and even. I'm just going to pick that up, sort of run my finger around the edge there, and then I'll add a little more glue on this layer and add my next one. Same thing, I'll place that down and just make sure my edges are nice and lined up. Again with my next layer. And finally, with my last one, I'm just going to add a little on the back side of that to make sure I don't have anything sticking out since it's such a short one. And I'll go ahead and make sure that one is lined up. I think that is so cute. There you can see all of that texture, all the different layers. Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time, and then I will get all the rest of these fringed and put together, and then again I'll pop back in and we'll finish by adding our sentiments. But let's do it one more time. I will grab one of these with the two-tone here for the next one. So again, I'm going to get my fringe added. I'm being very careful with this top layer not to go too close to that V, and working my way out. This top layer, again, I'm working to be really even with the top of my cuts as well, just because that's the one that you're really going to see when everything is finished. These, again, I'm keeping my center cut right in the middle as best as I can, but I don't have to worry as much about lining up the top cuts. last one here. Oops. There we go. And I'm going to again layer everything together. So I'll add a little bit of glue on this one and get this layer pressed down on top. A little more glue and my third layer. A little more glue and my fourth layer. And I'm going to add a little glue to the back of this one, and I'll press that one down on top. So there is one of the two-tone. Now I did get a little sort of a weird white stripe here because this is a two-sided paper. It does have a white core. So if that bothers you, you can always slightly trim it away. I don't want to take too much off. Just because I don't want to lose a lot of that fringe there, but I did trim away a little bit of that white. I think it looks fine, that doesn't bother me, but don't do a double cut like I did and you won't have to worry about that. Alright, so there are those two finished, and I'm going to go ahead and get the rest finished, and then we'll be back and add our sentiments. Okay, so I have got some scraps left over from my cardstock, and I'm going to pull in some foam tape. I have 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch. Then I also have some stickers. This is from the Hello Love collection. I don't have a whole lot left, but hopefully I can get some use out of those. And then I also have some from this other Maggie Holmes. I think this is from Shine, but I'm not positive on that. So I'm going to be putting on some stickers. Some I will pop up, some I will add some with a staple like the originals, and then some I will put on some cardstock for backing. So I'm just going to kind of work with it and see what I come up with. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these all wrapped up. I have pulled out some packaging materials. I always save mine from anything that I get. These are from the 3D foam tape that I use. So first I need to get some backing papers trimmed out. So I'm gonna take my packaging and I'm gonna measure this out, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4 inches across. Like, it's just slightly larger than that. So I'm gonna go with 4 inches. And I've grabbed some of this pattern paper. I picked this up at Joann's. It's or I might have gotten it at Michael's, but it's by Recollection. So I'm going to trim this to 4 inches. And 4 inches. I'll have enough left for one more if I decide to make a third package of these, but I want to save some for my stash for some of the other projects that I'm going to do. And then I'm going to measure the width here. So this is going to be 9 inches. Just going to stack these. And we'll go 9. To attach my hearts to the paper, I'm going to use some removable glue dots. I'm going to start with my center one just to make that a little bit easier. Alright, and then I of course don't want the 3D foam tape to show up here, so I have saved some of the strips that were left over when I trimmed off those 3.5 inch pieces to cut the hearts out of. So I'm just going to take this and actually wrap it around. So I'm going to start in the center here, and I'll just line that up as straight as I can, and then I'm going to fold here. Keep that as lined up as possible. And I'll fold again. I'm going to trim this so it's not quite so long. Should have been straight. It's got to be my fold that isn't, I think. Just going to use my bone folder here. Make sure the top is lined up. For some reason, it's not exactly straight, so I'm just going to take it over here. Off, so now it is straight. And then I'm going to use a little bit of Scor-Tape to attach this. I'm just going to use some 1/2 inch, or I'm sorry, some 1/4 inch. I'm going to run that along the bottom here. Along the bottom here. I'm going to add some on this shorter edge. I'm going to start with the front here just to make sure I get everything nice and straight. I'm going to place this down. I'll peel this one back, fold the longer edge over, peel this back. Oh, come on. Here we go. Just get that down nice and tight. And now I can fold this over. All right, when done, I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. Here are a few close-ups of the finished project. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.